crafty friends, it's Jess from jesscrafts.com, and today I'm here to share a clean and simple Hanukkah card made with some Lawn Fawn stamps. I started with the Lawn Fawn Love You Latke stamp set, and I'm going to make a clean and simple one-layer card with it. So I'm getting a card base. I have 110-pound cardstock that's 8.5 by 11 cut in half and then folded in half again to create an A2 size card. And I'm using a Teflon bone folder there to really get that edge nice and crisp. And since I'm going to be doing some embossing today so that I can add a lot of good detail but keep things simple, I'm going to make sure that I put my embossing buddy all over that card base so that nothing sticks where I don't want it to. When I first got started on this card, I thought that I would be making just one card. And the reason that I'm doing such a quick and clean and simple card is because it was one of those things where I realized that I really needed to mail my Hanukkah cards because Hanukkah is December 6th, and this video is coming out only a few days beforehand, so I know that might not be super useful to people who are making cards, but it just kind of snuck up on me there. And so I just wanted to make a couple of them quickly for my friends who celebrate, and so that I would have something ready in time for the holiday. So since I'm going to make a few of them, I decided that I would actually use my Misty tool, because Misty is perfect for making multiples, because you're going to be able to stamp in the same exact place, and I'm going to be able to put down all of my stamps at one time, so I can stamp an entire scene and not have to worry about it not getting a great impression. Usually when I'm trying to make sure that I get all of my elements perfect, I stamp them all separately, and this takes a little bit more time. But with the Misty, I can put all of the whole scene down and stamp it at one time. So I took the menorah, and in this case, since I knew I was going to be doing some gold embossing powder, I decided to take the solid lights. In the stamp set, there are the flames of the candles in an outline or a solid, so that way you can color them or you can choose not to. But since I'm keeping this clean, simple, and quick, I didn't want to have to fuss with any coloring, and I used the solid flames. I set it all up on top of my card, pressed the door of the Misty down, and then I was able to stamp it all on. Of course, you could do all of this with blocks. It would look exactly the same. It just might take a touch longer, but if you're only making one or two cards, I definitely prefer to use stamp blocks. Now, the gold embossing powder, like many other embossing powders, is a little bit fussy and sometimes gets where you don't want it, but that's why it's super important to use the embossing buddy, as I will be a testament to later in this video when I forget. And if you do get a stray piece of embossing powder here and there, you can take a really fine tip paintbrush with a sharp edge and just brush it off, but you don't want to brush the design off. When I go to heat this card, I want to make sure that my gun is hot beforehand so that I get a little bit less warping, as this is going to be my only layer to the card, so if it's warped up, it won't flatten out. Sometimes you can add enough foam tape or enough tape to flatten out a layer that's warped with embossing, but I'm not really going to have that opportunity on the clean and simple card, and so I'm going to make sure my heat gun is really hot. I'm going to show you how the Misty works a little bit just by stamping a few more. So you see that I was able to stamp the one card and emboss it, but I'm going to be able to make a couple of cards, and that's why in the end you see two cards that are exactly the same. I made 3 in all, but it was just easier to photograph too. And so I'm just going to take that same stamping arrangement, put some Versamark ink on it, and then press the door closed again, and my sticky Versamark ink is now on my card surface, and I'm ready to add that shiny gold embossing powder from Ranger. If you get a little bit of stray embossing powder where you don't want it, you also can start, before you take the paintbrush method, just flick the card, the back of the card, and that usually knocks off most of the powder, or tap it onto the side of your container. Those are enough to do the trick if you've used your embossing buddy. So now I'm stamping my third card, and you may not have noticed, but I forgot to use the embossing buddy this time. And you're going to be able to see the difference that truly makes. So I'm sprinkling on the embossing powder once again, and now it is sticking in a lot more places. It's really fine powder, but even when I flick, it's not all coming off. So there's just little stray bits here and there. That embossing buddy is worth it. However, if you don't have one, some cornstarch will do. You can just dust a little bit of cornstarch or baby powder onto your card, and that's a method that can work for anyone. Again, I'm going to heat up the embossing powder, and it's going to create a raised gold look. I like doing this on holiday cards because I think it adds something really interesting to them. You don't always get a lot of that detail on the cards that you buy in the store, at least not without paying $4 and $5 a card. So it's a nice detail, and I think that it really fits at holiday time. I like to use silver embossing powder a lot at holiday time. Now, if you don't have any purpose for a Hanukkah card, I think you could easily adapt this to any sort of holiday Christmas images. I was thinking that you could take your main image, such as like a snowman or the Santa Claus, emboss it in gold the same way, and then instead of stamping the Stars of David like I am here, you could simply stamp some snowflakes or some other sort of Christmas imagery, just some plain stars perhaps. I am taking the Hero Arts ombre ink in the pool to navy blue colors, and I think that gold and blue are working out well for Hanukkah in this instance, and I am going to use just a little bit of each. Rather than do an ombre effect where I stamp all the lights together, move to the medium, move to the dark, I'm just going to spread them out together just for a little bit more interest. Since this is such a clean and simple card, I do want to make sure that there is some fun color to it. And I'm generally moving from the top left to the bottom right with the stars, as that tends to be a little bit more appealing, particularly to English speakers, because that's how we read. So our eye sort of gets drawn from that direction to the bottom of the card, and it kind of lead the eye to the inside of the card. Of course, that gold embossing powder really does steal the show, because that of course we are always drawn to the shininess there. But once I get enough Stars of David, I feel like it's generally filled up the card. That's going to be it for the design today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in more crafting tutorials, including some more holiday cards, but also general cards and cards featuring Lawn Fawn, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Bye.